Hello, I'm Sam, and in this tutorial I will show you how to use the HTTPGetRequest and HTTPPostRequest. So let's get started. First, open your DevKit and create a new mode folder. I'll name mine Sam HTTP JSON tut. Then navigate to the generic mode folder and copy these two files. So copy generic mode and the primal game data to your new mode folder. Once copied, navigate back to your mode folder and rename these two files to match the name of your mod. Once this is done, open the level, save the changes if you have some, and then if you don't have, open the Word Settings panel. Inside there, choose to show modified properties, restart the force load map, and reference your game data. Save that, and then open your primal game data. Inside there, enter your mode name, and a short description for your mode. After that, again choose to show modified properties, reset the default game mode, since we are not using a custom game mode. Save the changes, compile, search for the server extra word singleton actor class. Now we are going to create our singleton. We call it HTTPCCA. We make it a child of the actor blueprint. And once we create our actor, we reference it in the primal game data. Now open the blueprint, go to the Graphs tab, search for event begin play, and for a test we are just going to print "Hey Sam." Save, compile, Now we need to reference our primal game data inside a test map. You can do that in the default test map, but what I like to do is create a new mode folder, copy the test map there, and use that for testing. So I copy the test map, open it, search for the primal game data property, and reference our new primal game data. Make sure everything is by default. Once done, we can run a test, make sure that the dedicated checkbox is checked, and as you could see, the server printed out a message saying, "Hey Sam." If you notice, only the server printed out a message, which means our HTTP CCA is only existing on the server, so no logic is run on the client. And now we can start to use the HTTP GET and POST request. To find them, make sure that the context sensitive checkbox is unchecked, or you drag from a shooter character state. Probably not needed for this example, but out of habit, I'm going to use a retrievable delay, just in case. But as I said, probably not needed for this short example. So the first thing we need is to get a reference to the game state, cast it to shooter game state, and use that as a target for our HTTP request. I'm going to use this site for this tutorial. I'll put a link in the description below. It has some JSON endpoints to test requests with JSON data as a response. So let's display this, and we see no errors so far. The server printed "I'm done." So we made a request, but we need to listen to the response of that request. So to do that, we need to bind to the HTTP GET response. So again, for that, we need a reference to the shooter game state. And we can call, assign, or bind to these two events. We have HTTP post response and get response. You would normally bind two different events depending on your needs, but for this example, we will bind both to the same event. Now we are going to create a function which will handle the response. We will forward it the success parameter and the response itself, just to keep it clean. So we call that function and forward it the parameters. As a reference, we can use self. What I like to do is create a new variable of the same type as our CCA and set it to self and use that. This is again some personal preference. Now we are going to handle the response. So we are checking was it successful. If yes, we'll print call successful. And if not, we are going to print call error. I made here a mistake, but I will fix it soon. So again, we hit play, we see server is done, and we saw the response message. Let's find in the log. And we see that we printed out the JSON response from that web API. It's just a normal string, a JSON string, from which we will need to extract the data. More on that later. So we are creating also a HTTP post request. For that, we are again going to use the site. We have there a post example. So this is the URL. And this is the type of JSON string it requires. So back in our graph, we paste the JSON data. We'll need to fix a little bit the JSON since it's not in the correct format by adding quotes around the property names and switch also the single quotes to double quotes just to make everything look nice. We see that our HTTP GET request succeeded, but our POST request failed because we sent JSON data which was not formatted correctly. And I noticed there an issue where I'm still printing out call successful. and fixing that. So call error. Compile, save. Navigate back to our graph, fix up the JSON. Save, compile, and test again. And we already see there that it succeeded. But let's check also the output log. We see there call successful, and we printed out the JSON response from the post request, which indicates that we successfully added a new item. Now what we need to do is create a JSON parser, which will allow us to extract the information from the JSON, as well as create a JSON string easy and in the correct format. For that, we are going to create our own JSON parser, and we are going to do that in our next two videos, where I will showcase the process of me creating a JSON parser, which you can then download either from GitHub or Google Drive. And I will create a third video where I will show how to use this new JSON parser, and that will be the end of this tutorial. Bye!